Yo, Sub Squad, welcome on into the channel. My name is Kyle Meshna and I'm a landscape photographer and filmmaker based here in San Francisco, California. And today I'm gonna show you around this space. We've been filming some videos in here for a little while now, and a lot of you have asked for a kind of tour of the setup. So I'm gonna walk you through all the gear that I've got, why I've got what I've got, why I use what I've got, and just maybe inspire you guys to help build out your own studio, or some people just kind of find it fun to see someone else's studio. So that's what we're gonna do today. Let's get into it. All right, so first things first, before we get into the studio tour itself, gotta address the elephant in the room, or in this case, maybe the caterpillar in the room. I have this disgusting mustache on my face for basically no reason other than I'm stuck at home, and I thought that it'd be a great time to grow a mustache because nobody sees me, not really considering the fact that all of you will see me. So here we are. Now I have this upper lip hair that I've never had before. I reached out to Movember to see if they would sponsor my mustache for men's health. They said they had bigger fish to fry. Totally understandable. At any rate, I do want to show you guys around the studio. We'll first start with the desk itself. So this desk is a custom-made desk that I found on Amazon. I honestly wish that it was a little bit bigger. The size of the desk width-wise is kind of fine for me, to be honest, but I do wish it was a little bit deeper. I like to kind of stretch out my arms a little bit while I'm typing, kind of type-a-roo up here. But you know, what are you gonna do? There wasn't really a good kind of in-between size between this one and the much larger one, and with this being in the corner of my bedroom, didn't want to take up too much space. Next, as far as the physical space is concerned, I have this shelf behind. This shelf is also one that I got from Amazon, and I've kind of layered this in three kind of main sections. We have the top layer, which is more of kind of sentimental stuff. Football that is displayed here is a gift from my father. He got it when he was 12 years old from the entire 1962 Boston Patriots team. So kind of a family heirloom that has been in the family for a number of years now. Moving on down to the second shelf, this is the functional shelf. This is where I'm keeping all the lenses. So it's a storage shelf and it's a display shelf. I keep the light behind there to kind of make a little accent pop, make the lenses look a little bit better. Dropping down below that is another shelf that we have. It's sort of on display, but kind of hidden. We have a mask that I got in Venice, Italy. We have the super old vintage camera, the Hawkeye from Kodak. This thing just looks super sweet. I'm pretty sure it works. It is a medium format camera, but I have not actually tried to use it just yet. For now, it's just, I think, a nice kind of collector's item and display. Moving on from the physical space, I kind of wanted to start going through some of the gear, and I think we'll start with the video. So you may notice that I switch back and forth from talking to my main camera, which is a little bit wider, giving a little bit more perspective, to switching to the tight camera. And now the reason for this is twofold. One, I think it's a little bit more interesting. And the real secret hidden reason is it's really easy to hide a mess up jump cut when you switch between two cameras. So you'll often see that sometimes I'll be speaking to the camera and then all of a sudden I'll switch to a different angle where I'm also still speaking to the camera, but looking the different way. That's actually just a really easy way to hide a mess up. To hide me flubbing up some words, to just completely messing up entirely. It looks super professional, but there is actually a purpose to that, which is hiding the fact that I am not particularly good at speaking sometimes. So if you do have the benefit of having a second angle, I highly, highly recommend it. Now the cameras that I am using, I am recording on the A7 III as kind of the main camera, and I am recording on the A7R III as the secondary camera. For the main angle, I'm typically on either the 16 to 35 G Master at 35 millimeters for a little bit tighter. Right now I'm filming on the 24 G Master, giving it a little bit of a wider perspective, and I like that we can be kind of nice and open at 1.4 aperture as we're doing right now. For the secondary camera, I am shooting on the 50 millimeter Zeiss 1.4. For me, I really like the natural look of a 50 millimeter, and when shooting portraits, I love that I can actually get close to my subject and actually talk to them while shooting. Attached to the A7 III, I also have a Andy Cine 4K monitor. This is really great for just kind of checking exposure, checking levels, all of those things. And I keep that mounted on top of the camera. Now, one thing that I would highly recommend that you get used to is not talking to the screen but talking to the camera. The difference between talking to the lens, directly into the lens, and talking up to the screen is pretty significant when you want to look as though you are talking directly to your audience. It becomes very obvious that you're not looking directly into the lens, even if you're looking slightly up, even if you have a flip out screen. That's one way that you can drastically improve your kind of camera presence when talking to an audience through the camera. In terms of audio, I think this has been the biggest upgrade that I've made in recent months. I am using the Shure SM7B. Now, this is a super popular microphone for podcasting. There's a lot of YouTubers that are starting to use it now as well, or have been using it for a while as well. The reason that I went with the Shure SM7B is it's very good at isolating noise when you're in a poorly sound-treated room. I am in the middle of San Francisco. Typically, the cable car will be riding right by my front door. I have an alley behind me where people are sometimes picking up trash. I have a couple of roommates that are sometimes kind of hanging out in the living room while I'm recording. This is very good at isolating all of that noise and just creating this nice little bubble of sound goodness that I can speak to and not pick up any of that other noise. Running from here, I run this down into a cloud lifter that I have taped with gaff tape to the edge of the leg of this table. That then runs into a Zoom H4n Pro. Rather than recording directly into that and then having to sync the audio in post, I actually take that audio and then with a line out, I split that with a auxiliary cable into both of these cameras. So both of the cameras are picking up stereo sound from this microphone and recording directly onto the video file. So I don't have to do any syncing in post of audio, and both video sources have the exact same perfect audio going straight into them as well. So I can sync those up directly. Really easy to sync the video in post because the sound file is the exact same. Moving on to lighting. So I obviously have this nice little accent light here. This is also just from Amazon. I'll leave a link to that below. It has like an Edison style light bulb on it. But the main kind of piece de resistance of the entire lighting setup is, and this may be no surprise, is the Aperture 120D. The Aperture 120D is probably one of the most commonly used lights in all of YouTube. Maybe no surprises here that that's the one that I chose to go with as well. I really do, as many people say, I enjoy the fact that I can turn this on and off. We can adjust the brightness with the click of a button. It's easily my favorite lighting setup that I've ever used, and I don't foresee myself using anything different in the near future. Moving on to computer hardware and all the accessories that are kind of accompanying that, I'm using a 2017 MacBook Pro 15-inch, which is then plugged into a 27-inch LG monitor. The LG monitor that I went with, which I will link down in the description below, the reason I went with it is it just needs one USB-C cord to plug in, and then that provides power and audio and HDMI to the display itself. So I have my speakers plugged directly into the monitor, and all I have to do is just plug this in. It powers the laptop. It gives me sound, it gives me video, it gives me audio. The whole thing is just good to go from there. I'm also using both a normal Bluetooth Magic Mouse and the Magic Trackpad. The reason that I do this is all my pinching and zooming and scrolling is much easier done for editing video and things like that on the Magic Trackpad, so I keep that on the left side. And then I keep the Magic Mouse for all of your normal mousy type things on the right side. I'm also using the larger of the Bluetooth Apple keyboards, just because I like to have the numbers. I also work full-time as an account manager doing advertising, so having those number pads for easy access to type in numbers is quite helpful. One other thing that I spent a lot of time trying to figure out is cable management. I am awful at cable management, absolutely atrocious at it. So one thing that I've done is underneath the desk, I have actually taken some coaxial nails you would typically use to hide a coaxial cable running along the baseboards of your home. I have used those to nail my cords to the bottom of my desk because this is a nice solid piece of wood. Another small little thing that I've done is I've added these little cord holder guys to the side of the desk. They're just these little sticky adhesive things that could come right off if I needed to. And they sort of just allow me to attach my cords that I'm using on a constant basis. So I can hang my headphones up there. I can hang a USB-C cord up there. So this just kind of provides me some quick access to things that I'm using quite often. One other thing that I'm really enjoying having as well are two Sony Bluetooth remotes. One of these is paired to each of my cameras, and the thing that I like most about it is I can set this to movie mode, hit record, hit the shutter button, and they will light up red when they are recording. So I always know when my cameras are recording, which, because there is no flip out screen on the Sony cameras, it's actually really hard to tell when you're recording. And there's been plenty of times where I've recorded an entire segment and then looked and realized that I just forgot to hit the record button. So these are really nice. And then they also work very well for putting yourself in photos, doing time lapses, making sure that you don't touch the shutter button when you're doing long exposures. All those things, highly, highly, highly recommend at least having one of these. All right, guys, that is it for the studio tour. I hope that this inspired you to maybe get some ideas for your own studio, as we're all working from home quite a lot these days. As I mentioned a few times, I will drop links to all of the gear discussed in the description below. If you do click on any of those links and purchase anything, it would help me out a bunch. It's at no cost to you, but I get a small commission fee, and that helps to support the channel to continue to provide tips and tricks to all of you guys. So I'd really appreciate that. If you did like this video, play thumb war with the like button, subscribe if that's something you haven't done already, and I'll see you guys in the next one.